If you are looking for a way to feed your family of four using minimally processed, lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of variety, I want you to stick around because today we're going to go over a $100 meal plan. This is actually week number 50, and we're going to show you some very basic ingredients that you can make multiple meals with. We're going to show you some variations, and overall, we're going to show you some basic recipes and formulas that you can use at home all the time, not just this week. So let's get into our meal plan. Here is our overview. You'll see that we're going to be doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a family of four for under $100. We are going to rely heavily on our crock pot, but don't worry. A lot of these crock pot dishes you can actually make on the stove top if you want. But I just love coming, when it's time for dinner, coming in and having that aroma and that smell, and everything's pretty much done for you. You just pop it in there. And we're also going to do a lot of fun breakfast and a couple fun lunches as well. So let's look at our grocery list. Now you'll notice that there's a lot of basic items on this list. We are basically assuming everything that you will need is on this list, but there are a few items that we do assume that you already have. That's going to be your preferred cooking oil, your favorite seasonings. We're going to need some flour, but we just bought a bag on our last week's menu. And for one of the dishes, you would need either breadcrumbs or crackers. There's a lot of options you can use there, or you can just skip it. It's not essential. Now, I want you to make sure to go check your pantry, your fridge, and your freezer. See if you already have some of these items and check them off the list. There's two links below. One goes to my shopping list on walmart.com. And when you go there, you can see everything on that list, change the zip code to your area, and you'll be able to see what the total would be at your local store. Now, keep in mind, every once in a while, a brand name or a product, it's regional. So it means it's not available at every single Walmart store. So sometimes the price is just a little wonky. So go through the list, and if something seems a little bit higher than what you would expect, just easily substitute that out. The second link is to my website. You can go there and you can see all of the slides as well as print a free PDF that has the shopping list and all the recipes. Just go ahead and print that out on regular paper and you can start like your own meal planning binder. So in a few weeks, you could go back and do this menu again. So let's look at the daily breakdown. Now I've broken this down by days with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I realize this won't fit everybody's schedules, so you can easily move this around and shift it however it works best for you. For the first breakfast, we're going to do a ham and potato casserole. It is super yummy and it's also a great base. Say, for instance, you want to make this, but you don't want to use ham. You could easily use bacon. You can use really any meat, maybe like a ground sausage or a sliced sausage, or even like the sausage links, just chop them up. All of those will work. This is a great base recipe, and you'll notice it does not include any of like the cream of soup type stuff. We're going to be making a lot of things from scratch. Now, for lunch, we don't have any leftovers yet. This is typically on a Sunday for me, so I have a little bit more time. So we're going to do a pepperoni pita pizza. Don't say that too fast. It's very tricky. So we're going to make some very basic pizzas using pita bread with just tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, and pepperoni. There's 6 pitas in a pack, so that means you could do an individual one for each person as well as have some leftover. Now, on the tomato sauce, we're going to buy an 8-ounce can, but typically I only use about 4 ounces for this part. For dinner, we are going to do a Mississippi chicken, which is similar to a Mississippi pot roast, but we're going to use chicken instead of pot roast. And we're going to serve it over mashed potatoes, and we're going to have mixed veggies. I love the Mississippi style, and it actually applies to multiple different meats. You can do it with pork chops or pork roast. It doesn't necessarily have to be like the traditional pot roast. So keep that in mind. Now let's move on to day 2. For day 2, we are going to have the ham and potato casserole again, and you can easily just warm that up in the microwave, or if you wanted to, you could heat it up in the oven. Because we've already browned it and it's nice and golden brown and melty, I like to add just a little bit of water to the pan, cover it in aluminum foil, and then bake it so it kind of steams back to life. For lunch, we're going to do an Italian style pasta salad. Pasta salads are super easy to make in advance, and they actually tend to get better the longer they sit in the refrigerator. Now, we're going to do it with egg noodles, Italian dressing, some chopped pepperoni, some chopped tomatoes, and then go look in your refrigerator. You might have some olives, some feta cheese, any other vegetables like broccoli or zucchini, anything you like, you can add to this. But keep in mind, if you want to add mozzarella cheese or feta cheese or any cheese, add it at the time that you eat it. When the dressing mixes with cheese, it gets kind of gummy and yucky. So just leave that, put it in like a little Ziploc bag if you're going to pack it for lunch, and you can just add that when it's time to eat. Now, for dinner, we are going to do shrimp and grits. This is just a basic recipe. It is so yummy. There's lots of room here for you to kind of switch up the seasoning to what you prefer. But the kind of kicker in here is we're going to do bacon and shrimp mixed together, and that flavor combo is so good. And we're going to do more of like a cheddar cheese style grits. Now, at my house, we would want to keep the green beans separate in this, and we would kind of serve it on the side. But you can actually go ahead and mix the green beans in with the bacon and shrimp and serve it over the grits. You're just going to have to work and see what works best for your family. Now, we are going to get some French bread this week, and so this would be a great one to serve with some toasted French bread on the side. Let's look at the next day. For day 3, we are going to make some sheet pan pancakes. Now, the recipe that I've given you here is calling for pancake mix. Personally, I prefer pancake mix just because it comes out perfectly every time. But you can make your own pancake mix yourself with just all purpose flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and white sugar. If you want to go that route, I've included that on the recipe as well. I've done it both ways, and honestly, it's just quicker and easier for me to use pancake mix. You can do whatever you like there. We're going to do dinner leftovers for lunch. And then for dinner, we're going to do a French onion soup. But the kicker is we're going to do it in the crock pot. It's really lovely. And this is one of those that typically it uses beef broth. And that's what gives it that hearty, warm flavor. But you can easily switch this over to a more vegan style if you want to use veggie broth. Now, the traditional way of serving French onion soup is you have like toasted bread and cheese and you broil it in the oven. Now, in my oven, the broiler doesn't work. It's a very old oven. So, a way to go around that is when you go to serve it, you can still toast up your bread, like in the oven or the toaster or toaster oven, chop it up into almost like crouton sized bites, put it at the bottom of your bowl, put your cheese, and then ladle your hot French onion soup over it, and it'll melt your cheese and make it all gooey, and it kind of floats up to the top, and it comes out pretty close. For day 4, we're going to do sheet pan pancakes again. Now, this is where it's going to get optional. One sheet pan of sheet pan pancakes really makes about the equivalent of about 8 pancakes. Now, my kids are pretty small and they're not always going to eat a full 2 servings of this. So you may have some left over from the day before, or you could switch it up. The first day, I didn't mention it, but we're actually going to put slices of banana on the pancakes, give it that banana pancake feel. For this day, you can do the exact same thing. We have enough bananas on the list to where you could just do both days as banana pancakes. But I would suggest going in your pantry and checking to see if you have anything fun like chocolate chips, brown sugar. You can use fresh or frozen fruit. You could even use canned fruit. And really, it's the same basic principle, just you're going to change up the toppings. Now, I did put pancake syrup on the list, so that would be included. I personally am not a huge fan of pancake syrup, but you're just going to play that by ear on what your family likes. For dinner, we're going to do salsa chicken. This is super, super simple, and you can actually use it in multiple ways. We're going to do about 2 to 3 chicken breasts, and sometimes if they're really huge and they don't want to fit in my crock pot, I cut them in half, and you really just dump salsa on top with some taco seasoning. You let that cook, and then you shred it up, and it's amazing. We're going to serve this up with Mexican style rice. You'll notice this one also calls for 4 ounces of tomato sauce. This is the other half of the can that we used from when we made the pizzas. Now, this is one of those meals that is going to make a good amount of chicken. So we're going to use the leftovers for a lunch. So make sure to save those up. For day 5, we're going to make grits for breakfast, but we're going to switch it up. The first time we had grits, they were like a cheesy cheddar grits. This time we're going to do Parmesan grits, but we are going to add some bacon in there. Now, like I said, if you're not a big fan of bacon, you can easily switch that out to like a sausage or ham or anything else you like. It's just a fun little twist on the grits, but the cooking method is pretty much the same. For dinner, we're going to do a tuna noodle casserole. This is one of those, it's kind of a classic dish. Either your mom or your grandma made it, so you can easily switch this up to kind of match what they did. This is just the way that I like it, where it's going to include mushrooms. We're going to make kind of our own cream of soup. It's not going to be like a cream of celery or a cream of chicken. We're going to make it's just a basic milk sauce. And then to that, we're going to add some Parmesan cheese and we're going to add some frozen sweet peas. Now, once you get everything cooked up and you've got your noodles and the tuna and everything mixed together, you're going to put it in a casserole dish. And I know this is where it gets a little different based on where you are in the US, but you can do a topping of either breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese, or you can do it where you take any kind of leftover crackers that you have and just crunch them up. I know some people do it with like saltines or Ritz crackers. Do whatever you like there. Or if you don't want that added extra crunch, you can just bake it off with no topping on there. This is one that it makes a good amount so you could easily have leftovers. For day 6, we're going to do sweet grits. Now, this is one of those where a lot of people are used to grits being savory, but you can actually make them sweet. And you're going to make your basic grits, and then once it's cooked, you're going to stir in some chunks of butter, and we're going to use pancake syrup. But you can also take a look in your fridge because you may have some other sweet items you want to add. Maybe have some jelly, maybe have some fresh or frozen fruit, some brown sugar. It's also really good to add dried raisins or can't talk, cranberries or craisins, or really you can also add some chopped nuts. Just really raid wherever your baking stuff is. Now, for lunch, this is where we're going to do the leftover salsa chicken, and we're going to make chicken nachos. Now, I know some of you pack your lunches for work, so you're like, how am I going to take nachos to work? In like a Tupperware pan, you're going to put your chicken and your cheese together in a pan or in a Tupperware. And then you're going to put another Tupperware with like your lettuce, your tomato, and some of your tortilla chips. And when you get to work, you're just going to pop the chicken and cheese in the microwave until it's all nice and melty. And then you just pour it over the tortilla chips and then put your lettuce and tomato or your sour cream, whatever else you like on them. Super simple. For dinner, we're going to do red beans and rice, which is traditionally made on a stovetop, and it takes kind of a long time because you have to pre-soak and cook the beans. But this is a way that you can do dry beans, which are much cheaper and economical, and it's going to make a good amount, and you do it in the crock pot. Now, there's lots of room here where you can change it up. I've used smoked sausage. If you want a little bit more spice, you could do like an andouille sausage or just a hot sausage. There's lots of options there. And we're going to serve it with cornbread mix. Now, I'm showing that this location had the Jiffy style cornbread mix, which is going to use an egg and about a third of a cup of milk. But depending on which cornbread mix that you pick, you might have to check and see what other ingredients are required. I did not put eggs on the grocery list this week simply for the fact that we only needed one if you got this brand, and odds are good you may already have one. If you don't have an egg and you need an egg, there are actually lots of different substitutions you can use, so definitely check that out. Also, as a reminder, this is just a suggested order. It doesn't have to be this order. Now, I've had a couple questions about why is day 7 all leftovers? And that is simply put because day 7 is typically a Saturday for us, and we are going to make sure that we eat through everything in our fridge, and anything that cannot be eaten, we're going to either freeze, we're going to do something with it, so that way we start clean, fresh for the next week. So if for some reason you have absolutely no leftovers whatsoever, there's nothing else, this is where you would use like a plan B meal. A lot of people have they have a night out, they have frozen pizza. This is what you would use for that night. Now, if you're familiar with my Facebook page where I post my dinners every night, you'll always see that I try to add a low cost fruit option. And there were a couple items on sale this week at Walmart when it comes to fruit. The majority of them were in regards to citrus because for some areas, citrus is very much in season. There was a couple items like bananas, mangoes, and dragon fruit that were also on sale, but I also wanted to showcase some frozen fruits and some canned fruits because just because you use frozen fruits or canned fruits, they're still nutritious and you can actually mix them with fresh fruit as well. So, here's just some suggestions because I'm hoping that maybe you already have a couple things on the list. And even though our total came out to about $96, if you have a couple items on the list you don't have to buy, you have plenty of room to add 2 to 3 low cost fruit options. If you've made it all the way to this point, I just want to say thank you for joining us this week. Don't forget to go to the website and print out your own free PDF. And while you're there, you can sign up for our email newsletter so that way you're notified of each menu each week. Now, our area is due for a winter storm on Friday and Saturday, so I'm recording this a little bit early, so my lighting may be a little wonky. So I hope y'all are safe and warm wherever you are, and hopefully this storm passes without any problems. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you later. Bye.